The developers behind Splitgate 2 have just made a bold announcement. They're taking the game back to beta. In their own words, they're rebuilding major parts of the game to recapture the magic that made the original Splitgate special. On the surface, that might sound like damage control, but for longtime fans like myself, it's a moment worth reflecting on. Because this update doesn't just speak to the state of Splitgate, it speaks to something bigger happening across the gaming industry. A pattern of misguided decisions, rushed releases, and studios chasing trends instead of trusting what made their games great in the first place. To start, it's not easy for a studio to admit they launched too early. So hats off to the team for that. But this situation also highlights something that's becoming more and more common in gaming: developers trying to fix problems that didn't exist. Splitgate 2 launched with solid gunplay and movement, the very things that made the first game so fun. But everything around it felt like slop. Monetization was messy, class-based gameplay felt like a clone of other titles, and the new Battle Royale mode barely even used the portal mechanic, the signature hook of the entire franchise. The first Splitgate succeeded because it offered an arena shooter with a twist: portals. Simple, skill-based combat with an added layer of verticality and mind games. It didn't need classes. It didn't need battle passes with 4 currencies. It didn't need to chase Apex or Warzone or the finals. It just needed to lean into what made it unique. Instead, Splitgate 2 lost sight of that identity, and that's something we've seen a lot lately. Look at Farlight 84. It was a free-to-play battle royale with a unique jetpack system that helped it stand out in a crowded genre. Then they rebranded, removed the jetpacks from most characters, rebuilt the maps, and now, surprise, its player count is a fraction of what it once was. Same with 7 Days to Die. Many fans argue the game peaked around Alpha 16. Since then, core mechanics like water gathering, base upgrades, and the learn by doing system have been stripped away or replaced. The recent 2.0 update added even more restrictions by gating off biomes, making the world feel less open than ever. Again, these weren't changes players were asking for. They were changes that chipped away at what made the game click. Splitgate 2 feels like it's heading down that same road. The class system was a surprise and not necessarily a good one. Part of the original's appeal was the even playing field, like Halo. Everyone had the same tools. What mattered was how you used them. Now, with 3 distinct classes and their own gear and abilities, it feels less like Splitgate and more like the finals with portals sprinkled in. Even the new Battle Royale mode feels like a Frankenstein of other games. You're plating up armor like Warzone, managing loot like Apex, and barely using portals at all. And that's what hurts the most. The very mechanic that made Splitgate is now an afterthought. It raises the question: is this a case of developers not knowing how to say no to bad ideas? Or did they just get lost in the sauce, trying to do too much too fast without asking if it fits? It's also worth pointing out the controversy surrounding the CEO's appearance at Summer Game Fest, wearing a hat that said, "Make FPS great again." All politics aside, it was a bold statement and one that sets expectations high. If you're going to make that kind of claim, you have to back it up. But we've gone from make FPS games great again to just make your game again. And to their credit, that's exactly what they're trying to do. But here's the problem with releasing a game too early. First impressions still matter. Sure, early access can be a helpful tool for gathering feedback, but players only get one first time with a game. If the experience is buggy, confusing, or unpolished, there's a good chance they won't come back. And in an era where there are thousands of other games competing for attention, you don't get many second chances. This is where I have to be honest. I don't know if Splitgate 2 can fully recover. I'm not saying it's impossible, but a lot of damage has been done. Between the rough launch, the confusing direction, and the shutdown of the original Splitgate servers, the trust has taken a hit. And now, with layoffs affecting part of the team, and server costs forcing them to shut down the first game entirely, the pressure is higher than ever. There is a great game buried in here somewhere, and if they truly commit to making Splitgate feel like Splitgate again, more portals, a clear identity, and respectful progression, then maybe there's a path forward. It'll take time, and they'll have to prove themselves all over again. I'll probably keep checking in during this transition, but if the lobbies start drying up and the casual players disappear, it's going to be hard to stick around. I hope they get it right this time. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you can, please like the video and subscribe to Decked Out Gaming. Thanks for watching.